Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paperstac podcast. I am Brett Berkey. This is Richard Allen.
Rick
Allen?
Rick Allen, not Richard. Richard. Some people call me Richard. You can call me sir. Or Mr. Allen.
Mr. Allen.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, so I guess another episode, another day. Still cold outside for Florida. Iguanas are falling out of trees type cold, so it's
Is that happening right now?
Oh yeah, down south. I was just down in Palm Beach and iguanas. I heard this story. There's a guy that was not from Florida, right? And so he had a truck, and Jason, my buddy Jason, told me this story. And I was like, that's crazy. He went around and gathered up all the frozen iguanas because they look like they're dead, but they're not dead. They're just frozen. And so he gathered them all up and he put them all in the back of his truck and all this stuff like that. And like the next day or something, it got warm.
Heated up.
They got warm enough to thaw out. His front yard, everything was just all iguanas because they all just came back to life.
Oh my gosh, it's fascinating, like what reptiles do. I saw, like in Louisiana, where they have a lot of alligators. Like the water will freeze over.
Okay.
And the alligators, like when they know it's going to freeze, they will come up to the top and they will just get their nose, where their nostrils are, out of the water. And then the water will freeze with their nostrils out, and they'll go to where they go into like a kind of like a coma or something, like Han Solo frozen in carbonite kind of deal. And they're read that they're like their heartbeat drops to like 3 to 4 beats a minute.
That's probably what iguanas do.
And and so they're sitting there, they're able to breathe, they're frozen, and then when the water thaws out, then it picks back up and they go about their business.
You didn't know you were going to get some National Geographic stuff here on the Note podcast today, huh?
No. I was going to ask, something silly like, have you ever met a famous person or, something along those lines. So, anyways, what do you got for us today?
So I got the cool phone calls of people that call in and they're new to note investing, new to real estate investing, looking I think they might have saw a video, something about passive investing that we would have done in real estate or note investing, but they're new to everything. They're like, look, I haven't done real estate investing, nor have I done note investing. I think I didn't even ask what they have done, but I was like, so what's your questions? And the questions were, why would I go into real estate investing over note investing? And what makes note investing better than real estate investing? Why wouldn't I start in, which one, if I'm starting brand new, why would I choose one over the other? And I was like, I don't really know why you would choose one over the. I mean, they all have their advantages, but I was like,
they all have advantages and disadvantages. Like
right.
Both.
So I was like, well, it's not like a this is better than the other. It was kind of like it's.
This is what I see happen. Usually the path starts with real estate because it's more conventional.
It's broader too.
It's broader, and it's just like everybody can kind of grasp the concept of buying a piece of real estate for low and selling it for high, or buying a piece of real estate, parking your capital there, and then having it turn off monthly cash flow along with, appreciation, stuff like that. So yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages. It really to each one, and where you start is kind of based on how much capital you have, what's your risk tolerance. So we can kind of look at them both. We'll start with real estate and then look at notes and say what are the advantages of.
Okay, let's start with real estate.
So real estate, I think one of the biggest advantages to real estate is it's easy to understand. It's buy low, sell high, park your money there, rent it out, and it's a tangible asset.
Right.
Like the concept of driving and seeing and looking at a house and walking in a house and turning around and seeing the kitchen and the bathroom and saying, oh, we need new flooring. It's very easy for people to grasp. So that's a huge advantage if people like it, because there's a physical asset there. They're investing in a physical asset. The next thing is appreciation. Like that's a big thing, right? Right.
Yeah.
You and I have been through now 2 cycles of massive appreciation, right? There was the 2000 to 2007 appreciation run that ended up in the meltdown.
Yeah.
And then there's been like we'll say start at 2019, but really like the run over the past 3 or 4 years where it's just been it's just been astronomical, right? It's just real estate's been running low interest rates. Holding hands with low inventory equals high demand people paying through the nose. So if you bought, in 1997 or you bought anywhere from 2009 through 2016, 17, like you've just experienced huge appreciation.
Right.
And that's counterbalance to what you'll see, or counterintuitive to what you'll see with
Notes?
With notes. Well, yeah. Yeah. Like a performing note loses value every time they make a payment. Every time it performs more, it loses value.
I know.
Which sucks. So that's a
Yeah.
big one. Obviously, there's a huge benefit to real estate because there's different exit strategies with it. Buy, fix, and sell. You can do rental income. You can build up a rental portfolio. And you can park your cash there and have it returning cash flow dividends monthly. There's massive tax benefits.
Right.
There's huge, huge tax benefits you can do. You can leverage real estate. It's much easier to leverage if you own something free and clear and you want to get a credit line. You want to set up some sort of credit facility. If you own 10 houses worth $300,000 a piece, you could probably get yourself a $2 million credit line. And you just have it, right? Because it's collateralized with a bunch of different pieces of real estate. And then you have a lot of control. That's the nice thing, an advantage to that real estate. You usually have control over your asset. So those are like some of the big advantages there. Some of the disadvantages. It's not very liquid. You can't.
Once you get the credit line, you can always.
If you got the credit line, you're good. You can create liquidity for it, but the actual tangible asset itself,
No.
It's not I'm going to have it today and sell it tomorrow thing. Right now, you're probably looking at, best case, 30 to 40 days to get your money out. So, but then again, if you've got the credit lines, then you have access to liquidity as long as you can pay it back. The next
also 30 to 40 days if somebody actually buys the day that you listed, right?
Right, and so yeah, it could be longer.
Could be longer.
12 months ago, you might have it for 15 days because you could list something today and have somebody with cash, and as soon as the title's clear, they're ready to close. So it's indicative of what's going on in the market at that time. The next thing is like real estate tends to have a little bit higher of an entry cost, a barrier of entry, costs more money.
Then what?
The notes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on Paperstac, right? Did you ever see a note on there for $5,000, $8,000, $9,000?
That's true. That's
yeah,
true. I
right?
will say that.
And you're parking your money. You're buying it just for passive income. Park your money there, right?
Yeah.
And show me a house where you can park $9,000.
Yeah, you can't.
No, not unless you're giving it to a fund or you're somewhere that's you got to be an incredible.
I guess you could have that as the down payment.
You could, and there's always going to be the outlier. Somebody on here is like, well, you can buy it subject to, and you can give the people $9,000, and they can walk away, and then you can take. Well, yeah, yes, there is that sort of thing. Or I'm a wholesaler, and I can put down $1,000 and turn it into $30,000 in 45 days. Okay, yeah, you could do that, but we're talking really like the conventional, straightforward real estate transaction. I'm not talking about wholesalers or brokering notes because those are two categories in and of themselves.
Right.
That we can certainly dive into. I think good. Another disadvantage. This is like I know all the people who are landlords out there are like, you're a landlord. You got to do toilets and sinks and there's a clog and they put down, what happened? Well, they're flushing diapers down the toilet. That's why I had to call a plumber. Yes, these are things that happen. I've flushed a pair of underwear down the toilet. Why? I don't know. But you have the maintenance, right? You could have a perfect rental. An absolutely perfect rental. And you're like, okay, I'm making money on this thing. I've recovered all my rehab cost on it. And then you get hit with a septic system drain field.
Oh, wow.
It just sets you back 12 months. It just sets you back 12 months. And then you get up and you catch up and you're like, ooh, air conditioner's broken. And you're like, set me back 12 months.
That sucks.
Oh, gotta need a new roof. Now, fortunately, it's like those are the big ones, right? Septic, roof, AC. If it's all budgeted in when you start, you're making your money, it's fine. But the ongoing maintenance is something that sucks, and that's something that eats into the cost, and not a lot of people calculate that. Market risk, right?
What do you mean?
Well, in 2006, you were sitting pretty on your real estate, right? Mm-hmm. In 2009 or 2010, not so pretty.
No.
So you're at the mercy of the market, which is kind of tough.
That is kind of tough.
And then it's like, what's the number one rule in real estate?
Location.
Location, location, location. Mm-hmm. So you gotta have a really good, values determined by location. Well, you could have a great location, and then things go south in a hurry, right? Or things change, or things turn.
Yeah.
Think about.
I'm just thinking about where we live. It's a nice area. I mean, it's where like Tiger Woods and a lot of really,
Yeah.
It's a nice area. But during the downturn, I remember I went through this one neighborhood, and we were gonna buy a nice house on the street, but literally we were the only house that would have been having anybody live in it. Mm-hmm. It was freaking weird. It was just like, we didn't buy it. Now that house is probably $900,000.
Like, that's how it goes. So locations can kind of change, and that can dictate the value of your house.
Yeah, no, the neighborhood looked like post-apocalyptic. It was like a Summerport.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember Summerport.
It's such a big neighborhood, built up way too fast, and then boom, and then.
Well, it just got built up at the wrong time. So, but. Yeah. So those advantages, disadvantages of the real estate side. Now let's look at notes. What are some of the advantages of notes? Passive. The definition of mailbox money. Mm-hmm. You're buying something, if it's performing, you're sticking it with a servicer. They talk to the borrower, they collect the payments, they just literally ACH you your money, which is great. Lower entry costs, we talked about it. You literally can buy, I think my first note was $8,400. A non-performing $8,400 note.
Yeah.
You've bought notes that are
10, 12
grand. We bought a note it was $3,000. $3,000. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. There's an end in sight on that one. It's diversified, right? So you can buy different kinds of notes.
Right.
You can buy partials and keep somebody involved. You can buy the whole loan. You can buy land notes.
Right.
So you can buy commercial debt. There's a bunch of different kinds of debt out there. You can spread your risk across a bunch of different sort of sectors. An advantage of it is it's collateralized by a hard asset, usually, by real estate. Unless you're buying a land note and it's collateralized by the land, but it's backed up by something.
Yeah, I get it.
Another nice thing, an advantage of it, is you can kind of do it from anywhere.
That's true.
Note investing is really something that is, you cut the leash. Can you do real estate investing? Yes, you can. You do need to have boots on the ground, and if it's going to be a fix and flip or something like that, you really got to have a crew set up, or otherwise it's going to go slow and it's not going to go as efficiently as it could. Right. Note investing, a little different if you're buying for cash flows.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's something that's changed. You can get extremely high returns.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at some stuff right now. We got some mezzanine debt product out there. There's between 15 to 18% returns on loan to value of like 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. And the cash flow coverage on it is just astronomical. Like at one of them, there's 10 times cash flow coverage, which basically means the cash flow they have coming in is 10 times the mortgage payment.
That's great.
That's it. That's huge.
That's huge, yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity for diversity, and there's a lot of opportunity for being creative with notes. Like I said, you can buy a partial. You can buy the next 12 months of payments, the next 24, the next 5 years, the next 10 years of payments. It's all out there, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage of the notes.
Also control too. Like if they do go south, someone stops paying.
Well,
and you can restructure.
Well, you can restructure it and stuff
and then
like that.
Start the clock right over again.
Yes, you can do that. That's something.
That's something that's pretty magical.
It is. That's less now, more so in the past, but it still happens, right? So let's look at what are some of the disadvantages.
Depreciation.
Well, yeah, we'll start with that. Every time you have a note and it's performing, every time it performs, it looks better. It's got a better payment history, but the value drops because they're paying off more principal. And so it's one thing. The better it does, the less it's worth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is crazy to think about. So that's something that that was like the most glaring thing to me when I made this transition. I was like, this is great, but every time they make a payment, it's worth less. So I was like,
I mean, technically just means it's worth a little bit less. But then if you're just planning ahead, like maybe
it's worth a little bit. Yeah, it's worth a little bit.
A year from now, I'll buy another one. You just keep that ball rolling.
You keep the ball rolling, but you know, you're also not getting appreciation.
No,
you can't get appreciation. All right. Another drawback to notes is default.
Yeah.
They stop paying, right? If you have a renter that stops paying, 90 days, I mean, you know, on average, maybe 90 days to get them out. You can go through a foreclosure and a bankruptcy and all kinds of shit to try to get a borrower out, and it can drag somebody on. So your money's tied up and it's just not performing. And once it crosses a certain threshold, you're like, I have to actually take this back, because I can't sell it as a non-performing loan, or else I'm going to lose my shorts on it, or it's not as valuable maybe as when I bought it as a performing loan. The only thing I can do is get it really sucks. And part of that's because you have less control. You have less control. This is another disadvantage. You have less control of the asset, right? If you're the lien holder, you have less control. Now, one of the advantages that we didn't talk about was if the toilet breaks or the air conditioner goes out, you don't call your bank and say, hey, I got a problem. They have to fix it. The downside is if they're derelicts, they may not fix it, or they may, and then if they default, then you got something that was not fixed well. So, but the lack of control is a big thing. You have only so much control as a lender on what's going on with the underlying collateral, the asset, the house. Right? You can't control that. And in order to get it back, there's a long recovery process for the most part. You may get a North Carolina deal that moves through in 90 days. But if it's a Florida deal or an Illinois deal, literally we just got a property back. I'm not, and this is good because today is February 1st, right? February 1st, 2024. This asset was going to auction. I had an auction date set in February or March of 2020.
Wow. Wait, the auction?
I had judgment, and I had a judgment hearing or court date set. I had a judgment hearing set.
Is this one of those ones in your favorite county?
Yes, it's in Crook County. I was ready to go. We were there.
I think I heard this one. And then COVID happened.
And then COVID happened.
And then everything got threw up back.
And so, we just got the lady out, cash for keys.
You still had to pay for all this time.
Oh yeah, I had to get her out.
Yeah.
She wouldn't leave. This is the thing. I offered the lady, and I offered her $20,000 to walk. I said, I'll give you $20,000 to walk. Right in the middle of COVID. I said, I'll write you a check for 20, sign the house over. She didn't do it. She walked with $1,500.
When you finally did it?
Yeah, $1,500.
Wow.
She agreed to $3,000, missed her vacate date, and left a bunch of crap there. I was like, I'm only paying you half now. I'm not gonna have to pay you anything, but I'm gonna pay you half.
Yeah.
You can't help people.
That's crazy.
So, and then you're still subject to market risk.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Because
that is very true.
it's a different kind of market risk. Obviously, if the market falls out, people lose their jobs, there's a recession, people are going to stop making payments on their house. If they stop making payments on their house, then the value of the house, the loan goes down. But then if a bunch of people do it, you run into what happened in 2007, 8, 9, where now there's a bunch of people not making payments, and now there's a bunch of inventory, and it drives down the value of the property. So there's a lot that can go wrong there. But you're also subject to a different kind of risk.
Right.
Right? So somebody who had a loan, so we were trying to market for owner finance loans a couple years ago. And somebody was like, they had this 6% loan or this 5% loan. And I was like, look, it's low. I need to get it for here. They're like, 5, where are you going to get 5 or 6% right now? It's like 2%. And he's like, I can't get any money in the bank, so I'm happy getting 6%. Well, go look at that now. You could throw your money, you could get a money market account and get 5.5%. Right? So you're subject to, it's not just market conditions risk as far as the value of real estate or what's going on with it's the actual, what are the interest rates right now? Because if you have a lower interest rate asset, like I've seen that. I've seen people try to sell stuff that they originated and interest rates at the time were 2, and so they're like, I'll double it and put 4. And now they want to go sell that asset, and they're like, people are not buying that. They're buying...
Unless they get it for a real big discount.
Well, that's my point, but they're like, people's target yields right now are much, 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 much higher.
I know.
People are like, when people were happy with 9 to 11, they're now at like
14,
15 on the low end. And I talked to some people, they're like, yeah, my basement's like 15 right now. I'm looking for 15 to like 19.
That's just crazy to hear.
It is, but that's there. That's what's there. So that's that different kind of market risk. So what usually happens, or what the perfect world is it's not I'm doing real estate or I'm doing notes.
Right. It's a
I do
hybrid
them together. I've got some performing notes here, I do some real estate there, and occasionally they hold hands where I buy a piece of real estate and I end up doing owner financing on it or something along those lines. Maybe I bought a piece of real estate, I do owner financing on it, and then I cash myself out by selling 10 partials on it. 10 partials or 9 partials at 90% of the thing. I leave 10% in the deal.
$12,800.
Yeah, $12,800 at a time, and now I'm cashed out, and in 10 years I'm getting it back.
Yeah.
And I made a little lick up front. So
I know a guy who does that.
I know a guy who does that too, but that's a super advanced method.
That is.
It's somebody, but that person has been in real estate. They've been in the rehab game. They learned the note space. They bought notes. They chopped up, did some land notes, and now they've got this whole thing going together where they're like, okay, I can buy it here, I can take this, I can chop it up. Now I'm doing notes, real estate notes, and I've got a long-term thing. So there's huge opportunity when they hold hands. Note investing tends to be a little bit more complex. There's more moving parts you got to understand more. But once you understand real estate, it's an easier transition into notes because you understand what to do with underlying collateral. You've eliminated half of it. You understand the real estate side.
That's a good answer.
Yes. When you start with notes, if you just start with notes, you're really learning both. Because you're like, okay, I have to learn all the moving pieces of this, and then you got to plan for the worst. What happens if I take back the real estate? Well, now I have to know how to evaluate real estate, and I got to understand, how do I liquidate real estate? Who am I calling? What am I doing? How do I manage a piece of real estate? How do I do it from afar?
That was the part I was going to say. That would be the hardest part right there, doing it from afar.
It is. That's a challenge, and one that we learn by, like, hey, if you can develop boots on the ground, if you can develop a core area, so you can buy notes nationwide, but if you can focus on an area that meets your criteria as far as, hey, maybe it's judicial versus non-judicial, or hey, I love Atlanta, or I love, Raleigh, North Carolina, or wherever it is. You just learn those spaces, and you're like, okay, I am going to buy here. Like for us, I'll never buy in Illinois again. That state's dead to me, especially Chicago. It's just not going to happen. But there's other states that I'm like, Texas. I'll buy in Texas pretty much anywhere in Texas. I love Texas. North Carolina, another great one. Tennessee. So there's some really good states that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to buy anywhere in there, but I will focus on those states. I'll pick an area where I've got boots on the ground. I've done 3, 4, 5, 6 deals there. I know the people. They know us. I know how they work. They know how we work. So building that up, that's how it works.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, so I guess the answer to the question is
matters.
It matters.
It matters. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to pigeonhole yourself into one. Say, I am just to this, or I am just to that. I mean, I think what you're saying, like, being able to, just diversify. But, also I think also, too, if the person listening to this that I talk to is watching this, is that it's just get off and do one of them. Just start. That's the biggest thing is, if you just try to decide who you're going to be or which way you're going to go, Just look for opportunities, and when they present themselves, hopefully have the right knowledge to go.
Pick your poison, though. Like, and by that I mean, like, if you're going to do real estate, great, do real estate, and if you're going to do notes, do notes. If you're going to do both. But don't just, know what's your goal in the real estate space. What's your goal in the note space? And that's in the note space. I'm buying performing short-term assets, so I'm looking for a partial. I've got 20 grand, I need to park it for 24 to 36 months, I'm going to buy a partial. Or no, I'm buying a non-performing loan with the goal of taking it back, I'm analyzing it for this. Or I'm buying a performing loan that I'm going to run it out till it pays off or it matures. That way, you just know what you're doing. If you're on the real estate side, you're never buying a rental that you're gonna flip, because maybe sometimes the cash flow works out to where you can pay a little bit more for a rental, but that higher price won't help you out on a flip. But you can always buy a flip and end up turning it into a rental or an owner finance that you cash flow or sell partials on. So, but kind of know what you're doing. It's good to be able to do both.
But also, like the last thing is just your time commitment. Because if you're going to do a fix and flip, you're going to have to put in some time with it. A note, you can just buy a performing note. And,
right.
You do that one evaluation, run your DD, and then, okay, cool, let's go. But with that, you might be knocking down walls, which is your favorite thing to do. And then all that fun stuff. And so that's a lot more time. So it's like, do you work a 9 to 5? Do you have the time? Do you want to be doing that on your weekends? Is that what you want to do?
I don't have time for that. That's why.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of what your time commitment is. But I think that pretty much wrapped it up.
That covers it, nails it. I think that was a good one. Probably a little bit longer than you thought it was going to be, but
I think we just left a lot of people with confusion. Like, I don't know what the heck to do. I'm going to go do stocks.
I'm going to go do tax liens.
Yeah, there we go. Tax liens.
So, well, that was it. If you have anything you'd like us to cover, leave it in the comments. Comment, subscribe, like. If you have questions or you are confused, drop something in the comments. We'll respond. We'll answer with you. Banter back and forth. Helps us out, helps you out, helps channel out. So, till we catch you on the next one. See ya.
See ya.